Hello, my name is Joel Christ. I'm a developer with Kona Systems, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough of the process of building list definitions with event receivers in Windows SharePoint Services 3.0. So today I'm going to be using Microsoft Visual Studio 2005 with the extensions for Windows SharePoint Services installed to create a new SharePoint list definition. So if I come to the File menu and choose to create a new project, if I look into the Visual C# tab here, in the SharePoint category, I can see now I've got several different installed templates here that are SharePoint related. I'm going to select the list definition template and create a new list definition called New Document Library. And I'll say OK. Now Visual Studio asks me for some definition settings here for the list. So it wants to know what I want to use for the base list definition. Got quite a few different choices here. I'm going to go ahead and go with the document library as my base list definition. I'm going to choose to create an instance of the list. I'm going to choose to add the list with an event receiver and say OK. And Visual Studio goes ahead and creates the project for me, pulls in the necessary references, generates a bunch of content for me, a bunch of ASPX pages, and also now it generates a couple of code files here for item events and list events. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add an item event handler or some code to one of the item events. And so what we want to do is if we come in here with the item event receiver.cs file open, I'm looking for the item deleting event. So if I come down here, now I can see here's the override for the item deleting event. The item deleting event will get fired just prior to an item being deleted from this list that I'm going to create here. So this gives me a chance then to respond to the item deleting event and do some validation if I want to, and possibly cancel the event. So let's go ahead and paste some code in now that's going to allow us to do that. So I've got some code on the clipboard. If I paste that in, you can see what I'm doing is I'm taking the properties parameter that's passed in here, and I'm setting the error message to a string that will be displayed to the user when I cancel the event. And I cancel the event by setting the cancel property on the properties object here to true. So then that tells SharePoint when it fires this event, I handle it, I return canceled equals true. It will then cancel the deletion of that item from the list and then display this message here, deleting of items not currently allowed, to the user. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go in and modify the properties for my new list here. So if I come down here in the properties page for the project and I select the SharePoint Solution tab, if I come in here, I can see a bunch of all the different features are going to be installed as part of this solution. And if I come down here and grab the new document library item event receiver feature right here and the element manifest for that, I can see here I've got key value pairs for all the different events that I can override. Now what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to specify that the item deleted event has a value of true because I am handling that event. And I'll go ahead and save that and then say let's close the property page out. Now at this point here I'm ready to go ahead and build the project. So it looks like the build succeeded. So now what I can do is I can come in here and I can either right click and choose to deploy, or I can come up here on the project menu, or rather on the build menu, and choose to deploy the solution as well. So if I deploy it now, what Visual Studio does is it goes ahead and builds the solution again, and then it builds the necessary files to actually deploy my solution to the SharePoint site. So it first creates the solution, adds it to the SharePoint site, deploys it, and then begins activating the different features. So you can see it's activating the feature for the new document library list, and it's activating the feature for my item event receiver for that list, and then it restarts IIS for me. And it looks like now the deployment succeeded. Okay, now that we've successfully built and deployed our list to our SharePoint site and created an instance of our new list, we can come over to our SharePoint site and take a look at our document libraries, and we see that we now have a document library called New Document Library. So if we go in there, there's currently no documents in there, so let's create one so we can test our event receiver and make sure it's working. So it doesn't really matter what I have for the content of the document. Go ahead and create a new document, save it to the document library, and shut this down. And now we see we have our new document here. Now if I come in here and I choose to delete it, I should get an error. And I do. I get redirected to an error page because the event receiver gets called. It cancels the item deleting event and returns the string deleting of items not currently allowed. And so then SharePoint goes ahead and redirects us to the error page and displays our error message. So it looks like everything's working just fine. So by using Visual Studio 2005 with the extensions for Windows SharePoint services installed, it was very easy for us to create a list definition project in Visual Studio with an event receiver, override the item deleting event, and add some code to cancel the event, and then build and successfully